The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 3, Section 4, The Work Before Us. Lecture delivered at the Triplicane Library Society, Madras. The problem of life is becoming deeper and broader every day as the world moves on. The watchword and the essence have been preached in the days of yore when a Vedantic truth was first discovered, the solidarity of all life. One atom is in this universe cannot move without dragging the whole world along with it. There cannot be any progress without the whole world following in the wake, and it is becoming every day clearer that the solution of any problem can never be attained on racial or national or narrow grounds. Every idea has to become broad till it covers the whole of the world. Every aspiration must go on increasing till it has engulfed the whole of the humanity, nay, the whole of life within its scope. This will explain why our country, for the last few centuries, has not been what she was in the past. We find that one of the causes which led to this degeneration was the narrowing of our view, narrowing the scope of our actions. Two curious nations there have been sprung of the same race but placed in different circumstances and the environments, working out of the problem of life, each in its own particular way. I mean the ancient Hindus and the ancient Greeks. The Indian Aryans bounded on north by the snow caps of the Himalayas, with fresh water river like rolling oceans surrounding him in this plain, with eternal forest which to him seemed to be the end of the world, turned his vision inward and given the natural instinct, the supreme fine brain of the Aryan, with this that he became introspective. The analysis of his own mind was the great theme of the Indo-Aryan, with the Greek, on the other hand, who arrived at the part of the earth which was more beautiful than sublime. The beautiful islands of the Grecians archipelago, nature all around him, generous and simple. His mind naturally went outside. Wanted it wanted to analyze the external world, and as a result, we find that from India have sprung all the analytical sciences, and from Greece all the sciences of generalization. The Hindu mind went on it in its own direction and produced the most marvelous results. Even at the present day, the logical capacity of the Hindus and the tremendous power which the Indian brain still possesses is beyond compare. We all know that our boys pitched against the boys of any other country triumph always. At the same time, when the national vigor went, perhaps 1 or 2 centuries before the Mohammedan quest of India, this national faculty became so much exaggerated that it degraded itself. And we find some of the degradation in everything in India, in art, in music, in science, and in everything. In art, no more was there a broad conception, no more the symmetry of the forms and sublimity of conception, but the tremendous attempt at the ornate and the florid style had arisen. The originality of the race seemed to have been lost. In music, no more were there the soul string ideas of the ancient Sanskrit music. No more did each note stand as it were on its own feet and produce the marvelous harmony, but each note had lost its individuality. The whole of modern music is a jumble of notes, a confused mass of curves. That is the sign of degeneration in music. So, if you Analyze your idealistic conception. You will find the same attempt at ornate figures and lose of originality. And even in religion, your special field, there came the most horrible degenerated or degeneration. What can you expect of the race which for hundreds of years has been busy in discussing such momentous problems as whether we should drink a glass of water with the right hand or a left hand? What more degradation can there be than that greatest mind of the country have been discussing about the kitchen for several hundred years, discussing whether I may touch you or may touch you may touch me, and what is the penance for this touching. The themes of the Vedant, the sublimest and the most glorious conception of God and soul ever preached on earth, were half lost, buried in the forest, preserved by the few sannyasins, while the rest of the nation discussed the momentous questions of touching each other and dress and food. The Mohammedan quest gave us many good things, no doubt. Even the lowest man in the world can teach something to the highest. At the same time, it could not bring vigor into the race. Then, for good or evil, the English conquest of India took place. Of course, every conquest is bad, for conquest is an evil. Foreign government is and evil, no doubt, but even through evil comes good sometimes. And great good of the English conquest is this: England, nay, the whole of the Europe has to thank Greece for its civilization. It is Greek that speaks through everything in Europe. Every building, every piece of furniture has the impression or impress of Greece upon it. European science and art are nothing but Grecians. Today, the ancient Greek is meeting the ancient Hindus on the soil of India. Thus, slowly and silently, they leaven has come. The broadening, the life giving, and then revitalist movement that we see all around us has been worked out by these forces together. A broader, a broader and more generous conception of life is before us. And although at first we have been deluded a little and wanted to narrow things down, we are finding out today that this generous impulse which are at work, this broader conception of life are logical interpretations of what is in our ancient books. They are the carrying out to the rigorous logical effects of the primary conception of our own ancestors to broaden, to become broadened, to go out, to amalgamate, to universalize is the end of our aims. And all the time we have been making ourselves smaller and smaller and disassociating ourselves contrary to the plans laid down in our scriptures. Several dangers are in the way, and one is that of the extreme conception that we are the people in the world. With all my love for India and with all my patriotism and veneration for the ancients, I cannot but think that we have to learn many things from other nations. We must be always ready to sit at the feet of all. For mark you, everyone can teach us great lessons, says our great lawgiver Manu. Receive some good knowledge even from the low born and even from the men of the lowest birth. Learn by service the road of heaven. We therefore, as a true children of Manu, must obey his command and be ready to learn the lesson of his this life or the life hereafter from anyone who can teach us. At the same time, we must not forget that we have also to teach a great lesson to the world. We cannot do without the world outside India. It was our foolishness that we thought we could, and we have paid the penalty by about 1,000 years of slavery. That we did not go out to compare things with other nations, did not mark the working that have been all around us, has been the one great cause of this degeneration of the Indian minds. We have paid the penalty. Let us do it no more. All such foolish ideas that Indians must not go out of India are childish. They must be knocked on the head. The more you go out and travel among the nations of the world, the better for you and for your country. If you had done that for hundreds of years past, you would not be here today at the feet of every nation that wants to rule India. The first manifest effect of life is expansion. You must expand if you want to live. The moment you have ceased to expand, death is upon you. Death is upon you. Danger is ahead. I went to America and Europe, to which you so kindly allude. I have to because that is the first sign of the revival of nation's life expansion. This reviving national life, expanding itself through me off, and thousands will throw off in that way. Mark my words, it has got to come if this nation lives at all. This question, therefore, is the greatest of the sign of the revival of the national life. And through this expansion, our court of offering to the general mass of human knowledge, our contribution to the general upheaving of the world, is going out to the external world. Again, this is not a new thing. Those of you who think that Hindus have been always confined within the four walls of their country through all ages are entirely mistaken. You have not studied the old books. You have not studied the history of the race. Alright, if you think so, each nation must give in order to live. When you give thing or when you give life, you will have life. When you receive, you must pay for it by giving to all others, and that we have been living for so many thousands of years is the fact that stares us in the face, and the solution that remains is that we have been always giving to the outside world, whatever the ignorant may think. But the gift of India is the gift of religion and philosophy and wisdom and spirituality. And religion does not want cohorts to march before its path and clear its ways. Wisdom and philosophy do not want to be carried on floods of blood. Wisdom and philosophy do not want to march upon bleeding human bodies, do not march with violence, but come on the wings of peace and love. And that has always been so. Therefore, we had to give. I was asked by a young lady in London, "What have you Hindus done? You have never even conquered a single nation." That is true from the point of view of Englishmen, the brave, the heroic, the Kshatriyas. Conquest is the greatest glory that one man can have over another. That is true from his point of view, but from ours it is quite the opposite. If I ask myself what has been the cause of India's greatness, I answer because we have never conquered. That is our glory. You are hearing every day, and sometimes, I am sorry to say, from men who ought to know better, denunciation of our religions, because it is not at all the conquering religion. To my mind, that is argument why our religion is truer than any other religion, because it never conquered, because it never shed blood, because its mouth always shed on all words of blessing, of peace, words of love and sympathy. It is here and here alone that the ideals of toleration were first preached, and it is here and here alone that toleration and sympathy has become practical. It is a theoretical in every other country. It is here and here alone that the Hindu builds mosques for the Mohammedans and churches for the Christians. So you see, our message has gone out of the world many of times, but slowly, silently, unperceived, it is on a par with everything in India. The one characteristic of Indian thought is its silence, its calmness. At the same time, the tremendous power that is been in it in that is been that is behind it is never expressed by violence. It is always the silent mesmerism of Indian thoughts. If a foreigner takes up our literature to study, at first it is to him. Disgusting to him. There is not the same stir, perhaps the same amount of that rouses him instantly. Compare the tragedies of Europe with our tragedies. The one is full of action that rouses you for a moment, but when it is over, there comes the reaction, and everything is gone, washed off as it were from your brain. Indian tragedies are like the mesmerist power, quite silent, but as you go on studying them, they fascinate you and you cannot move. You are bound, and whoever has dared to touch our literature has felt the bondage and is there bound forever, like the gentle dew that falls unseen and unheard and yet brings into the blossom the fairest of roses, has been the contribution of India to the thoughts of the world. Silent, unperceived, omnipotent in its effect, it has revolutionized the thought of the world, yet nobody knows when it did so. It was once remarked to me how difficult it is to ascertain the name of any writer in India, to which I replied, that is an Indian idea. Indian writers are not like modern writers who still 90% of writers who still 90% of their ideas from other authors, while only 10% is their own, and they take care to write a preface in which they say, for these ideas I am responsible. Those great masterminds produced momentous result in the hearts of mankind, were content to write their books without even putting their names, and to die quietly, leaving the books to the posterity. Who knows the writers of our philosophy? Who knows the writers of our Puranas? They all pass under the generic name of Vyasa and Kapila and so on. They have been true children of Sri Krishna. They have been true followers of Gita. They particularly carried out the great mandate. To work, you have the right, but not to the fruits thereof. Thus, India is working upon the world, but one condition is necessary. Thought, like merchandise, can only run through channels made by somebody. Roads have to be made before even thought can travel from one place to another. And whenever in the history of the world a great conquering nation has arisen, linking the different part of the world together, then has poured through these channels the thought of India and thus entered into the veins of every race. Before even the Buddhists were born, there are evidences accumulating every day that Indian thoughts penetrated the world. Before Buddhism, Vedanta had penetrated into China, into Persia, the island of Eastern Archipelago. Again, when the mighty mind of the Greek had linked the different part of the Eastern world today together, then came Indian thoughts, and Christianity with all its boosted civilization is but a collection of little bits of Indian thoughts. Ours is a religion of which Buddhism, with all its greatness, is a rebel child, and of which Christianity is the very patch imitation. One of these cycles has been arrived. There is a tremendous power of England which has linked the different part of the world today. English roads no more are content like Roman roads to run over lands, but they have also plowed the deep in all direction. From ocean to ocean run the roads of England. Every part of the world has been linked to every other part, and electricity plays a most marvelous part as the new messenger. Under all these circumstances, we find again India reviving and ready to give her own course to the progress and the civilization of the world. And that I have been forced, as it were, by nature to go over and preach to America and England is the result. Every one of us ought to have seen that the time had arrived. Everything looks propitious and Indian thoughts, philosophic and spiritual, must once more go over and conquer the world. The problem before us, therefore, is assuming larger proportion every day. It is not only that we must revive our own country, that is the small matter. I am an imaginative man, and my idea is the conquest of the whole world by the Hindu race. There have been great conquering races in the world. We also have been great conquerors. The story of our conquest has been described by that noble emperor of India, Ashok, as the conquest of religion and spirituality. Once more, the world must be conquered by India. This is the dream of my life, and I wish that each one of you who hear me today will have the same dream in your mind and stop not till you have realized the dream. They will tell you every day that we had better look to our homes first and then go to the work outside. But I will tell you in plain language that you work best when you work for others. The best work that you ever did for yourself was when you worked for others, trying to assimilate your ideas in foreign languages beyond the seas, and this very meaning of meeting or in proof this very meeting in proof how the attempt to enlighten other countries with our thoughts is helping your own country. One fourth of the effect that has been produced in this country by my going to England and America would not have been brought about, and I confined my ideas only to India. This is the great ideal before us, and everyone must be ready for it. The conquest of whole world by India. Nothing less than that, and we must all get ready for it. Strain every nerve for it. Let foreigners come and flood the land with their armies. Never mind. Never mind. Up India and conquer the world with your spirituality. Yeah. Has been declared on this soil first. Love must conquer hatred, and hatred cannot conquer itself. Materialism and all these miseries can never be conquered by materialism. Armies, when they attempt to conquer armies, only multiply and make brutes of humanity. Spirituality must conquer the West. Slowly, they are finding out that what they want is spirituality to preserve them as nation. They are waiting for it. They are eager for it. Where is the supply to come from? Where are the men ready to go out of to every country in the world with the messages of the great sages of India? Where are the men who are ready to sacrifice everything and so that this message shall reach every corner of the world? His such heroic souls are wanted to help the spread of the truth. Such heroic workers are wanted to go abroad and help the assimilates the great truth of the Vedanta. The world wants it. Without it, the world will be destroyed. The whole of the Western world is on the volcano which might burst tomorrow, go to pieces tomorrow. They have searched every corner of the world and have found no respite. They have drunk deep of the cup of pleasure and found in vanity. Now is the time to work for so that India's spiritual ideas may penetrate deep into the West. Therefore, young men of Madras, I specially ask you to remember this. We must go out, we must conquer the world through our spirituality and philosophy. There is no other alternative. We must do it or die. The only condition of national life, of awakened and vigorous national life, is the conquest of the world by the Indian thoughts. At the same time, we must not forget that what I mean by the conquest of the world by spiritual thought is the sending out of the life giving principles, not the hundreds of superstition that we have been hugging to our breast for centuries. These have to be weeded out even on this soil and thrown aside so that they may die forever. These are the causes of degradation of the race and will lead to softening of the brain, that brain which cannot think high and noble thoughts, which has lost all the power of originality, which has lost all vigor, that brain which is always poisoning itself with all sort of little superstition, passing under the name of religion. We must beware of in our sites. Here in India, there are several dangers of this. The two Cycla and Charybdis, rank materialism and its opposite errant superstition, must be avoided. There is a man today who, after drinking a cup of Western wisdom, thinks that he knows everything. He laughs at the ancient sages. All Hindus thought to him is errant trash, philosophy mere child's prattle, and religion the superstition of fools. On the other hand, there is a man educated but a sort of monomaniac who runs to the other extremes and want to explain the omen to this of this and that. He has philosophical and metaphysical, and Lord knows what other puerile explanation for every superstition that belongs to his peculiar race and his peculiar god and his peculiar village. Every little village superstition is to him a mandate of the Vedas, and upon the carrying out of it, according to him, depends the national life. You must be aware of this. I would rather see every one of you run atheist than superstitious fool. For the atheist is alive, and you can make something out of them. But if superstition enters, the brain is gone, the brain is softened, degradation has seized upon the life. Avoid this too. Brave, bold men, these are what we want. What we want in vigor in the blood, strength in the nerve, iron muscles and nerves of the steel. Not soften, nebby, pemby ideas. Avoid all this, avoid all mysteries. Try, there is no mystery in religion. Is there any mystery in the Vedant or in the Vedas or in the Samhitas or in the Puranas? What secret societies did the sages of yore establish to preach this religion? What sleight of hand tricks are there recorded as used by them to bring their grand truth to humanity? Mystery mongering and superstitions are always signs of weakness are always signs of weakness. These are always signs of degradation and of death. And therefore, beware of them, be strong, and stand on your own feet. Great things are there, most marvelous things. We may call them supernatural things so far as our ideas of nature go, but not one of these things is a mystery. It was never preached on this soil that the truth of religion were mysteries or that they were the properties of secret societies sitting on the snow caps of the Himalayas. I have been in the Himalayas. You have not been there. It is a several hundred miles from your homes. I am a sannyasin and I have been there for the last 14 years on my feet. This mysterious society do not exist anywhere. Do not run after these superstitions. Better for you and for the race that you become rank atheist, because you would have strength, but these are degradation and death. But these are degradation and death. Shame on humanity that strong men should spend their time on these superstitions. Spend all their time in inventing allegories to explain the most rotten superstitions of the world. Be bold. Do not try to explain everything that way. The fact is that we have many superstitions, many bright spots and sores of our body. These have to be exist, cut off, and destroyed. But these do not destroy our religion, our national life, our spirituality. Every principle of religion is safe, and the sooner these black spots are purged away, the better the principle will shine, the more glorious stick to them. Stick to them. You hear claims made by every religion has been the universal religion of the world. Let me tell you in the first place that perhaps there never will be such a thing. But if there is a religion which can lay claim to be that, is the only our religion and no other, because every other religion depends on some person or persons. All the other religions have been built around the life of what they think a historical man, what they think the strength of religion. is really the weakness. For disprove the historicity of the man, and the whole fabric tumbles to the ground. Half the lives of these great founders of religion have been broken into pieces, and the other half doubted very seriously. Has such every truth that had its sanction only in the words vanish into the air.